The reason I had the motivation to start Red Mountain Grace came from a family story, something that happened to my wife's family in the past. And they had to be in Birmingham, and they didn't have a lot of funds to be here. And Ronald McDonald House actually had an opening, and they were able to stay there. The question in my mind was, what if Ronald McDonald House did not have an opening?
So I met Jason Carroll with Red Mountain Grace about 2 years ago when they were first getting this off the ground, and he approached me and a few other people here at UAB to kind of talk about what kind of mission that he had in mind and to sort of fish it out and see if this was something that we really needed at UAB, which of course we do. So I remember meeting with Jason, and he outlaid, what the mission of Red Mountain Grace was going to be, and we were all very excited about it as another option to be able to offer families when our own local in-house resources are full and have long waiting lists. As a social worker, that's what I have to assess. I can't get somebody to wrap their heads around the emotions of somebody dying here in the hospital if they don't have any place to stay. Being able to take care of families is equally as important as taking care of the patients.
Red Mountain Grace actually ministers to all kinds of needs. We are not specific to just children or just cancer patients or whatever. So I get to experience a lot of different situations. Some of them, recently I've had a lot of premature babies born. So those parents and babies are here for sometimes 2-3 months.
I had a routine doctor's appointment in Opelika, and my blood pressure was skyrocketed. And we went to East Alabama and Opelika. We couldn't get my blood pressure to go down, so they recommended go ahead and having her through C-section. So we came to UAB for their neonatal. We knew that they had really good neonatal care. Really, the shock of it was when I was getting discharged. It was on a Wednesday. We had her on a Saturday, and I had my 4 days, and they're like, all right, y'all are getting discharged today. And our daughter was still at the hospital. We had nowhere to go. We're constantly looking at our insurance charges, and it's just the last thing on your mind is living costs. We already have living costs at our home in Opelika, so we're pretty much having 2 apartments, and it's really overwhelming.
We were desperate at that point, and so my wife actually called Debbie, and from what she said, she was very helpful, and anything we need, she took care of it. And that day we were in there, got the key. As soon as we got there, she just said, send me this when y'all get a chance, or when it's not stressful for y'all. So it worked out really good.
The staff at Red Mountain Grace has been really easy to work with because they obviously have a heart for this. This is not a for-profit business. This is something that, when I first met Jason, was clearly from his heart, was really meaningful for him, and being able to provide this kind of service based on some personal events in his own life. He told us that story, which of course absolutely endeared him to us in terms of him taking this on, not just as something that you should do, but as a mission that he really felt was the right thing to do. Since Debbie has come on, I have felt the same vibe from her, that this is not a job, this is a mission, this is coming from the heart. I think I understand that most of the money that comes to Red Mountain Grace probably comes from the board members themselves, because this is what is making their world meaningful, is knowing that they have impacted people's lives in such a positive way.
I worked in the corporate world for a while, and while that was a good job and a means to an end, and could make good money, I came to that place in my life where I thought, I want to do something that makes a difference in people's lives.
You understand how helpless you might feel in that situation, especially when you're not at home. And the gratitude that I have for Ronald McDonald House because of what they did for my wife is something that I wanted to carry on to those people who were being put on waiting lists. Now, the big motivation is that I get the opportunity to share Christ in the midst of the struggle.
I was diagnosed with desmoplastic small round cell tumor, which is an incurable cancer, in December of 2010, and was referred to MD Anderson in Houston to get my treatment. My wife and I were flying out to Houston because I was scheduled for surgery. I had to stay out there to recover, and then I had a month of full abdominal radiation. And so we were gonna have to be there 3 months. And I was prepared to sign on the dotted line for an apartment that was $3,000 a month. And I was sitting on the front porch of a friend's house in Helena, Alabama, and his neighbor was in MD Anderson, and she had a sarcoma type cancer as well, like mine. And she told me about the Amschwann Sarcoma Cancer Foundation that has apartments for sarcoma patients. And so I called the next day and they had an opening. And so I flew out there and was able to stay for free for 3 months. And so coming back to Birmingham, I knew, one, that the Lord had done an amazing work in me to allow me to return to work cancer-free, and that was not the end. I wanted more there. And so I contacted a friend and told him what I was thinking and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do more. And he actually said, I talked to this group, Red Mountain Grace, this morning, and you have to get in touch with them.
Red Mountain Grace does extraordinarily well in providing not just the housing, but the follow-up care to make sure that this family is coping well. Who care about how that patient is doing and how that family is doing, just take some of the stress off of the family to feel like they are really being cared for on so many different levels. I look to Red Mountain Grace on a regular basis because this is a need that I have on a regular basis. Of course, it is a scarce resource. So, there have been many times that Red Mountain has not had an apartment available because there is such a need for this.
My desire to see Red Mountain Grace grow and to gain more apartments is because that's that many more families that we get to minister to. Would it be easier to stay at 4 apartments and just minister to the people that come through 4 apartments? Absolutely it would be. It'd make my job a lot easier. But also, I'm the one that turns down people daily. I mean daily. Sometimes 2 and 3 families a day because I just don't have enough apartments. And every time I have to turn somebody away, it breaks my heart.
Personally, I want to grow Red Mountain Grace because I feel like I'm able to use my gifts and talents and experiences that the Lord's given me, and I feel like it's a perfect fit, and I want to expend myself in that cause.
We want to keep the personalized service that we currently have, and the model looks like almost a concierge patient coordinator that's going to love on our guests, pray for our guests, and invest their time into our families' lives on maybe an 8-to-1 scale. For every 8 apartments that we have, we'll have a patient coordinator.
So the need is huge, but the supply is really small right now, and we just need a lot of people that will do something and know that whatever they're doing is investing not just in an apartment, but it's investing in the kingdom.
I know that when I was flying to Houston, there was somebody doing a video in a boardroom, asking for money, asking for support, asking for help to provide me that apartment that they didn't know. And God willing, I want to do that here in Birmingham with this great hospital community, with all of these patients coming from all around to get treatment here. And where are they staying? And I want to be that guy who's standing in the gap for them. And raising support for them so that I can meet a very important physical need in a very difficult time while allowing the Lord to work spiritually. That's it. That is That's it for me.
I can speak for the 6 board members and myself is that we all feel like this is a calling that God has put on our lives. And we just desire to touch more and more and more people. And it's because of people like you who are already donating and helping us, whether it's money or whether you've donated meals or whether you have just prayed for people, that everything that you're doing, please continue to do, because it does make a difference in the lives of people. And we have the opportunity to see the difference it's making in their lives and to see the relief on those people's faces when we say we have an apartment for them, and see, you know, their appreciation of getting to have a place that they're safe and they can rest and, you know, get themselves together for the next day that they're going to face. And so I would just say to you that are already supporting us and helping us, thank you and God bless you. And we just pray that you will continue to help us to spread the gospel by meeting needs of people.